everyone, it's Sally with the Polka Dot Life. Today we are going to make a sweet card with the Merry Snowflake Bundle. This card would probably be considered more of an avid crafter card. It's really just a basic card, but it has lots of things and steps. So don't be afraid of that, but join me at the craft desk and let's start playing with this. Today let's make a card together using the stitched snowflake dies and the Merry Snowflakes stamp set. This has a lot of nice greetings, both large and small, inside, outside. It doesn't have a ton of snowflake stamps, but it has like a large, a medium, and small, and then like a little wind kind of looking swirl or flourish. Some of these cut out the images. Other ones just emboss the image. So like these ones, you can use both of these together and it will emboss the inner portion and cut out the larger portion. This just makes an impression. It's a long one that's like a border. Lots of interesting different shapes and designs. We are going to start out by doing a little heat embossing. We have our Night of Navy cardstock. And we don't sell these embossing buddies anymore, but you can search them on Amazon, lots of different places. I think they can be called an embossing pillow, different names they come in. They're not super expensive. Some people have a lot of good luck also using a used dryer sheet, and so that is also an option. I'm going to also be using the tailored tags dies, and we're going to be using the 3 largest sizes. This is the smallest of the 3 that's going on this layer. And this is a tray just that Stampin' Up! Used to sell something like that. You can pick one up at your local craft store or Amazon, or you could just buy an inexpensive set of paper plates and fold in half. Just something so you can use it like a sieve to put your powder back in your jar. A piece of copier paper works well also. We have our Versamark, which is our sticky ink. It's just like a glue. I'm going to have my Simply Chamois on the ready here off camera. That might show a little bit, but we're going to do a different technique here. And I'm going to take this piece of, or some of this washi tape. Okay, and I'm going to take enough for like one is going to cover one time. We are going to cover this Merry, and the next time we're going to cover everything. That looks to be pretty evenly covered. So I'm going to zip this piece off and put it in the trash. And I'm going to take the everything and do it first. Just gonna let that transfer down there. That is really nice. We're gonna take just a quick minute and we are gonna use, I know this looks terrible, but our Simply Chamois, and we're going to just clean all of that stickiness off of our stamp. I am going to go ahead and do the embossing on this. I've learned from past experience that trying to do it all at once, you just kind of, you could do it and it could work, but you're just setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment. So I just have this little stiff bristled brush, and it just takes a lot of that excess off. And one thing that's nice about this is that if there are some little extra pieces on this navy, it just looks like snow. And so it really doesn't matter. So on this go round, we are going to cover up the word everything, because we do not want to get adhesive. If you see that there's adhesive around this portion, go ahead and just knock that off. I want to make sure this is cool. I'm going to move my stamp just on some different parts of that pad because some are probably stickier than others. And I am going to come in here with the word Merry. Now, some people like to cut their stamps. I am not a fan of that. I know my luck, and I know that that wouldn't end well for me. So we're going to just put this embossing powder on here and tap that off. And I can see that I must have rocked my stamp. We're just going to take care of that. And like I say, if there would be any extra little pieces, it's going to look like snow on this. And it is more apt to show on like your Night of Navy or your Early Espresso or your black or Blackberry Bliss, one of those darker colors. And so since I added that again, I needed to just go in there and swipe that. And we're just going to come in here again. It's fun just to see that embossing powder come to life. I have a little bit of stamping to do. And I've pulled in from the Gorgeous Leaves this speckle. You could use either one, whether you like the smaller or the larger. And I have this snowflake stamp. And I am just going to use my Misty Moonlight. And I'm going to stamp everything in the Misty Moonlight. I'm going to take this one and kind of put it here in the middle of the bottom. And really the rest of these are probably going to get covered up, but we're going to go ahead and stamp them anyway. We have our snowflake, and then we have our little speckles. And if you wanted to just change it up a little bit, you could always stamp off and then stamp on to kind of variegate that color just a little bit. And you can always turn your stamp and change that pattern around. And that kind of just does a little, makes that a little designer series paper on its own. You can put however many speckles you're in the mood to do. Now I have a sponge dauber. This one is new. I don't know why I don't have one already out and labeled, designated for Misty Moonlight. We're going to fix that. And I'm just going to come on here and kind of, when you haven't used one before, you kind of want to get it loaded with that. And I will take a label and label this as Misty Moonlight off camera when we're finished. But I just wanted to take this piece of embossed with this beautiful, I will put the name in the description. I cannot think of it at the moment. It just has lovely evergreen branches on it. I want to take most of this off, and you wouldn't even have to do this step. I just thought it was a pretty step to kind of add flicks of this Misty Moonlight along these branches, just to kind of break up the white a little bit. And you can, of course, go lighter or darker. If you haven't used a sponge dauber yet, you might just want to practice on a piece of scrap paper. Make sure that this is in view, that you can see what I'm doing here. And like I say, you wouldn't even have to do this step. I just thought it kind of added, my other one was lighter, and I'm kind of doing this one a little bit darker. not going to color the whole thing in. I just want to make sure that those tree branches are a little bit pronounced. Now, you are going to want to make sure you either use a wet wipe or go wash your hands, or just use some hand sanitizer here after you've kind of been in all that ink, just because this is a white card and, you know, I don't have luck with those kind of things. I even have on black slacks, old slacks, so I am going to rub my fingers along that just to be sure. Just kind of building up our pieces here. Okay, we have a thick, basic white cardstock card base. And I'm going to put my adhesive on here. I'm just going to put this down, leaving an equal border around there as much as I feel that we can, and that is as crooked as can be. It's one thing great about our Stampin' Seal is it is a little bit repositionable. As long as you haven't really pressed hard on it, you can get it up there and move it around a little bit, and that is still crooked. There we go. And then we're going to take this layer and just kind of butt up against that. And we can kind of judge how we need it to go. And it's just going to kind of even go up over that original piece a little bit. Since this layer is embossed, I would like to use liquid glue. I want to be scarce enough that I don't see glue lines on the other side of the card, but I want it to be on there enough to make sure that it adheres well. So you want to make sure that your tree limbs are going kind of sweeping in the direction that you want them to be. And like I say, I probably put this Misty Moonlight layer over a little bit further than I wanted to. But there's some leeway, however you want to do that. But we also have this Night of Navy layer, which I think since I kind of had to hop the curb here, I am just going to butt it up against there. You could put it on top of. You do whatever you feel looks best on your card. That is just a little creator's choice there. Super cute. Kind of want to lay out these tags. I kind of have this one down this way. This one kind of jetting over on top of this layer, but still showing some of that. And then our Merry Everything tag will go on top. And the holes don't exactly line up on the tags. It's close-ish. That's how we'll say that it is. So we'll start by putting some liquid adhesive on our largest tag. And this is cut out of the Beauty of the Earth Designer Series paper. It just is such a beautiful piece. Goes with a lot of different things. And again, like I say, we're going to jut this over, but it's not going to be going off of that edge. And we're going to just kind of get those holes close-ish at the top. And then we have our Merry Everything tag. And then we're just gonna, like I say, just kind of layer that on the top. And see, like I said, I had those couple little flakes. It really just looks like snow. So there's no point in getting super excited about that. I feel the best way to deal with some of these snowflakes is to take, we used to sell these sponges, we don't anymore, but you can get them at the craft store or Amazon. I just cut a little tiny sliver. You don't need much. That way I just throw mine away. I don't worry about trying to save it because I'm just using such a little bit. You could even probably use a dried kitchen sponge that's clean, whatever. I'm going to put a little bit of my liquid glue into a pile here. And it won't take that much, but sometimes that sponge just kind of sucks a lot of that in. And I have one of these like pearlescent looking snowflakes, and they are one of our new embellishments in this mini catalog. I can't think of the exact name. They're an iridescent on one side, and then they're plain on the other. If you wanted to sponge on this side, you could certainly do that. I'm just going to take a little bit of this and drag most of the excess off. And it's kind of like, I won't take it clear out to the edge of all of these, but they're delicate enough that I don't want them to get caught and tear on something. So I am just going to take this and I'm going to lay this one down here. And we're just going to kind of work around our everything. We want it to kind of come up around it, but not cover it over. Now I just have cut out a variety of snowflakes using this Misty Moonlight paper, and I used basic white on this one. On my other, there are some larger pieces of this pearlescent after you've punched things out, these snowflakes, that you could die cut some images from that paper as well. And I did that on my example. And if you have a fine tip glue pen, you could use that. There are lots of options. You could use glue dots if you needed to. And this is going to dry clear, and a lot of this is going to get covered over. Now I am going to kind of match up this shape in the center, but that's about the most I'm going to do there. I have this blue one and I have this little tiny white one on top of it. To put on top of it, I should say. And so just however you feel like layering these up, whatever shapes of the snowflakes you like or the sizes, I think it is, again, this is a creator's choice, and it's one of those times you just get to sit back and enjoy it. I am going to put a dimensional on this one. And I am going to put this kind of tuck it in here. Don't want it hanging off the edge. I don't want it covering my letters, but that's where I am going to place that one. And for this last one, I have a Misty Moonlight, very detailed snowflake. I'm just going to kind of put it over top of this one. I don't know if it will line up. Some of them do, some of them don't. This one actually will. So I'll go ahead and do that. Rather than squirt more glue out, I will just hit this one a few places since it has some thicker areas with my glue. And I'm just going to kind of put this one here beside this stamped snowflake. And I'm pushing it down here. I'm not necessarily pushing it down up here. If it sticks, it does. If it doesn't there, I'm really fine with that. So it gives it a little more lift. Now let's really pretty this up. And I have some opal rounds that I am going to put in the center of some of these snowflakes. You could certainly add more or less, depending on how you like them. But whatever sizes and whatever locations that you like. On some of these cards, I think the big ones are large, but I think you can get away with it on these just because they're so frosty and wintry looking. Of course, the last thing we need to do is add a bow. And if you have watched me, you know I don't tie bows on camera, so I have that already done. And let me grab a glue dot or two. This ribbon is a little bit stiffer, and it is the glittered organdy ribbon. And so I'm just going to even put this on here a few places, just because it's kind of, like I say, it's stiff. And then when you get the glitter pieces on it, sometimes getting it to adhere flat or whatever is a little bit more of a challenge. I'm just going to kind of run my fingers underneath there so those additional glue dots adhere down there. Just kind of pull my loops apart. Take a minute and make it pretty. And these are cards that really, if you can, if you're going to be hand delivering a gift or something, to put them in our acetate boxes, they really, really look beautiful that way. I think that this ribbon had been on back order. By the time this posts, it may be back in stock, but this is a good one to have all year long in your stash. A nice white ribbon, and it'll kind of reflect all of the colors around it. So I think that that is a really good choice. But I just think this has a lot of different elements. Of course, you could break out your Wink of Stella and color in, you know, put some sparkle on your different snowflakes. You could do a lot of really fun things. Now, I didn't take time today to decorate the inside of my card, but I will off camera. I do have an envelope. And I just think that this little Merry Everything is a great stamp set to use for cards by itself. I think it's good to mix and match things. So I think that it has great sentiments, and don't let the way that the stamp comes limit you. Remember, you can always take that little greeting and split it up to use it the way that you want to use it. Thank you so much for taking some of your time today to spend it with me. I hope that you enjoyed it. As always, remember to be kind, send a card, and do something creative. Bye-bye.